Okay, so it is week 4, avf1308, and I did get a chance to take a look at some of you guys' assignments before tonight's session. So I just want to show people where folks were at with things, and it's pretty nice to see that you guys are taking steps to implement the native features, but then also do interesting things with them. Um, not only are we uploading pictures, but we're, capturing things like geolocation and then this implementation here was a check for network status and being able to see that indicator, and then also identifying your home network so that if you are somewhere else, you could, you know, choose not to be connected to the network unless your home network was identified. So just little extra pieces that you guys are adding. So I think that's pretty nice. Um, and the videos are always fun to see and watch you guys work with. And but yeah, even the simple implementations, I think that each of you can understand how so many businesses can benefit from these small little, hooks into the user's devices. It allows those companies to take advantage of, components that users enjoy working with. Users enjoy working with geolocation and being able to, get directions to a place based where they are, or, with images, or with reviews or purchases, or, so many different things. So I'm glad to see that you guys aren't just implementing things in a simple form. You are taking it a bit further. Um, and as far as design goes, I certainly have seen some, um, people taking a shot, I guess you could say, at customization. And even here, the consistency in the font sizes, let's say, um, and the spacing, which I understand, JQM does provide us with a starting point. Um, but even in the unthemed version, this type of stuff is what I'm looking for, and not what I shouldn't even say what I'm looking for. What our users are looking for, right? This is a pleasing interface. Um, I would say this one, these two, you know, more than the other. But it's pleasing because there's continuity, there's alignment, there's consistency, there's um, the color palette is okay. Um, things are clear. I mean, you're not really having to work at understanding what's going on. So, those are really easy things for every single one of us to do. And I thought I'd just bring it up because I do have a couple this month. A couple of you that are, kind of just working within these simple boundaries. And I don't know if you realize that you're doing it or not, but um, and again, I realize this is a kind of a JQM sort of a theme, sort of a feel, and the comments that I gave back to this person was, certainly to try to customize it more. You can get the same borders, the same look and feel if you use the unthemed version, as a themed. I like the royal, or the kind of cornflower blue and the logo. Why not use that here and flatten up the list view? I mean, no one says that we have to have um, gradients and things. I mean, there's just, and that then you start competing with other portions of the app that's really going to make that company have a look and feel of its own. So I encourage you guys to kind of take it further if you're using the JQM themes. And then those of you that aren't using the JQM themes, I want to point out that it's really not a whole much of a stretch for you to incorporate some of these basic things into your design. It's look and feel. It's consistency in the UI and the layout and the fonts and the treatment. All those things you guys can do pretty easily with CSS. So I, you know, want to give kudos for you guys trying, and you know, I definitely want to point out things where you can take it further. So even in this view here, I mean, I'm certainly seeing lots of good implementations, or pretty good implementations, I should say, of responsive design. And I of course would encourage something that maybe some other component could be here. I mean, the balance is just a little bit off, I guess, when you're looking at it in this view. Maybe what we could do is we could have, as we touch on these, we have a flyout with the information, so that way these guys could be, smaller buttons. Something that is a little more simplified. So maybe we could have a two-column situation. So there's always something else that we can be telling people also. As you guys go forward, you're going to be kind of working on some design. I mean, you're kind of starting, I don't want to say you're starting over next month, but you certainly are starting again with a new code. So when you get to the design part again, you're going to have to remember all these really basic principles. And if you have forgotten, hopefully counterparts in class will help you remember, hey, what if you made your fonts consistent? Or what if you made that spacing consistent? Or, hey, the alignment is off just a little bit. There's something catching my eye. All those things will help the user just feel more at home with the app, really, more. They would be more likely to come back to your app and use it and recommend it to folks, right? That's kind of what we're going for also. So, in-app browser implementation. And, yes, getting the camera shot. So, yeah, these were actually, that was it so far. I haven't really, I know I extended the date, and you guys have done a really good job. This month, this week has been filled with lots of questions, and I realize even tonight it's going to be filled with lots of questions. So that was the main reason for the extensions. And of course, lots of you got everything okay. It's not that you I don't mean to say you got it like there was something logical to get. It's not. It is the installations and things are different. Rolling back to even version 2.9, that's probably not such a bad idea, but that's a different installation process also. That it's not that bad. It's just where mainly it's just a couple of commands in terminal, and a lot of it is more, you dragging and dropping folders and things like. So I guess it's more automated now this new way, but there's probably a few bugs, and that's what we're working out. And I think you guys are finding that, and I'm finding, of course. I mean, we are here in our class. We, if anybody, would be writing documentation. It would be us. Because as we uncover all these little nuances of what's going on with PhoneGap, it's yet to be written, right? I mean, it's all brand new. There's not I mean, they've done a good job of trying to let us know what's going on, but at the same time, there's these little things are going to come up. So I appreciate you guys working at it, and I will continue to work with you on things, because I certainly don't want a silly installation problem. And that's really what it's coming down to. I've had a lot of you restart a project, just a brand new project, and then all of a sudden, lo and behold, everything works. You're able to add the plugins just fine. I mean, it's and then it's been other things, having to actually edit things like the config.xml file, which we shouldn't have to do. We weren't having to go in and add these XML tags before with the dot playlist and the config files. And I mean, it's just really interesting how much, I guess I took for granted all these other months where we weren't doing that. We were doing other little tiny tap dances. And now this month it's like it is across several files. So again, I appreciate you guys hanging in there, and I'm trying to shoot out emails as much as possible, and I think we're whittling away at the problems. Certainly, I'll be with you guys tonight, so you can let me know how things are going. But and plus I kind of get lost as well. I mean, we end up working together, and it might even be late, and then I get other emails, and then I think that maybe I've helped you that next day and maybe I didn't get back to you. So just please don't feel bad about shooting me another email, because it's totally fine. This has just been a busy month in communication, but that's great. I'm glad you guys are open and you're talking to me and letting me know what's going on. So I appreciate that. Um, just get back with me too. So, okay. Otherwise, let me take a look at questions. Okay, I think we're doing pretty good. Tonight's session usually isn't too, much. It's usually just kind of going over, of course, what we've seen for the week, but also of course, what's coming up this week, which we'll take a look if you haven't seen it already. And we kind of talked about this last week, where there's not a whole big difference in week 4, because several of you have already done at least one mashup, and that's really it. I mean, you've got to have the 2 mashups this week. And of course, all the other requirements still hold true. I mean, I need to see, the multiple things working on the devices and 2 that work on both, and then the data mash up with a native feature. So, your 2 data resources, or let's just say 2 data resources, need to mash up with 2 native components. I say that because several of you have changed your data resources, and that's completely fine. I like that you guys are trying different things. So please feel free. But I just need to have 2 data resources working with 2 native components, and that does have to work on both sides. Again, it's just really important to, leaving this block, seeing that you can create a situation where you're balancing between the 2 platforms, and I want to make sure that you accomplish that this month in a few different ways. Not just the couple native features from this past week, but also in a data combination way. So I like that part. And it's usually pretty easy. Of course, you can choose to do things like Wi-Fi detection and, just simple things. Even the device info, where you're serving up maybe a background that, has a watermark or something. I mean, just interesting little things that you can do in this final week would be great. Because, of course, you're going to be going into iOS for a while, and you'll be going into Android for a while. You will circle back to this type of information at some point, this type of, having to deal with raw data, having to deal with maybe server components, and, you know, as you get towards the end of the degree, you'll be working towards final project type things. So again, I want you guys to round off this last week, really well. Of course, for me, selfishly, because I love having your amazing examples with your, cute little faces and your videos, and I can, take screenshots of things and send those to our program advisory committees, and they can just love and hope and wish for you guys to graduate so they can hire you. I mean, that's really kind of how that works. Being one of the project classes, and each of our classes actually take our best work, and we do things like that. But so there's just lots of reasons why I want you guys to do really well this last week. But yeah, being able to show off at our little program advisory committees is really nice as well. So I like to throw that in there. And I will say, going into iOS, you guys are going to be working with a language that is well structured, and Wendy likes to come into, if she's ever in the go-to training sessions, and she likes to say things like, you guys are going to start real programming next month. And I think, you know, I have to say that you guys have been programmed for a long time. I know your brains feel it, so that's, no skin off me. But I will agree with the next set of languages you guys are going to be working with. You are going to have boundaries, and these boundaries are set by those languages. So by have learning JavaScript first, with it being kind of a crazy, you can write it any way that you want, but you're still going to get points off if you don't name all your functions with variable names. But it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It's just it's bad form. Those functions without variable names, they are firing whether or not they should be called. All of your on error else statements, for instance. I mean, all that stuff. It fires. I don't mean the else statements, but you know what I mean, like the either or situation when your callbacks. I mean, you don't want that stuff running without a need. And in these next set of languages, you're not going to have much of that problem. I mean, it's going to do its own garbage collection. It's going to do its own memory management. It's smart. I mean, those languages are a bit more refined than JavaScript. But I think what you're going to see is why we taught you JavaScript in the way that we have, and why we've tried to make you adhere to rules, so that once you get into these languages, it'll be a little bit easier to adapt to. So I wish you luck. I'm not an Objective-C girl, and I'm not a Java girl, though I sit around it all the time, and I'm learning and picking things up. But at some point, you're going to get back into my technology. So, absolutely after this class, please hit me up. Let me know if you have any issues, design questions, implementation, what have you. But I get so excited during week 4 because, yes, you get to polish up my class, but you guys get to go on to this next part of your journey, and that's not even it. You have two really powerful, legs of our industry to get to, and I get to wondering what you guys are gonna make of it, by the end. So I do look forward to that. And the other thing that you guys are gonna do this week, and it's really just a check. Because we kind of talked about it at the beginning of the month, where you have to work on your data collection. You need to look at the industry several times. I'm not saying every single month or every single week, but you definitely want to be looking at the industry as a whole, and just kind of seeing where it's at and the milestones, that it's reaching and how quickly that stuff is happening. So the best way to do that is to collect your own stats. So that's kind of what this industry research assignment is for. And it's also to force you to, tap into the university library system, where, sometimes there's some really excellent papers, very recently published excellent research papers that come out about our industry. And, month after month, sometimes they're there, and sometimes you'll find better ones out on the web, but you can always find something in our library. And I really want you to remember this, the library system that we have, because as the months go on, this is free. This is not something this is already part of your experience here at Full Sail. When you leave Full Sail, you cannot get into these research databases unless you pay fees. So I know that it's just you kind of have to keep checking back with them. You kind of have to refine your keywords and search terms, and you might have to, look at another sort of industry to get the type of information, like usability or something instead of mobile development or mobile design. You might want to look at, usability and technology or something. I mean, there's just all these different ways that you can search for stuff. And the web, of course, is really great, but, these are vetted papers, and again, it's free. I just can't underscore that enough. Once you get out of a university situation, you no longer have access to stuff like that. So And the other thing I want you to take a look at are just some of the trends. I mean, I want you to see how much it costs in other countries for bandwidth, and I want you to see the caps that are there, or maybe they're not there. And it might just kind of rattle your cage a little bit about why the heck we pay so much for bandwidth and then it gets capped for who, for why. I mean, it's just, there's no reason. It just, I don't know. So there's lots of things to think about on an international scale. And so this discussion is meant to kind of get you into that, but also it's meant to show you how similar everything is. So, you know, we all have the same kind of needs and wants and those types of things. And yes, you're going to see that games are off the charts in most situations, but I want you to dig a level deeper, right? And I want you to look at and see what else there is outside of games that everybody globally need. You really can't go wrong with the needs of an entire planet. If you're really trying to look for some of that low hanging fruit, I'm not saying you have to be the next Facebook or something for the planet, but maybe there is something in there's lots of grocery shopping apps and there's lots of gift finders and different things that people enjoy doing, and there's those niches, and then guess what, people around the planet enjoy those types of things as well. So maybe you can see that. And then that way, when you start releasing apps, you can take that next step into, okay, what if I did release it in Great Britain? I mean, what kind of tweaks would it take to go ahead and place your app in those markets? We do need to be thinking of that. Mobile is a booming industry, but lots of people are very interested in it. And that doesn't necessarily mean, oh, watch out, there's going to be lots of developers, but there's going to be a lot of ideas, and a lot of those ideas can connect. And I think you can really get to where you're kind of killing two birds with one stone if you're thinking about stuff like this. So I'm not sending you on some easy little goose chase of, oh, go and see that apps are the biggest and everywhere, and then you move on. No, I want you to really look and see what people are doing with their phones, what they're not, what they're afraid of. We're finally getting into paying for things with our phones. It's been a long time coming. Other countries like Japan and Hong Kong have been doing that forever. South Korea, so maybe we could see what barriers they had to overcome. I mean, I think we're doing that now, but it's still, again, kind of slow coming. You could look at some of those other countries that have been moving a bit faster, see why it is that they've been moving a bit faster, and then learn from it. They say in those countries there's like 123% mobile penetration. I mean, that's people have multiple devices now. So it's good to keep your arms around this type of info. And by the end of this degree, it'll be a year plus later or something. And guess what? All your statistics will have changed, but you will have a history that you can look back on, and you'll be able to kind of paint a chart, right? So I can't talk enough about data. Sometimes I kind of am a data nerd, but I can't stress enough how much information you can get from it, and how you can just make some excellent decisions based on that research. So, okay, sorry, off the soapbox of data. And Robert, were you asking? You were saying something about in-app browser used on page with data, styled Google Map loaded using native geo. Just curious. So what was that about? I'm sorry. Were you asking, or were you being... Oh, mashups. Yes, yes. Native geo with Google is considered a mashup. In-app browser with data is considered a mashup. Yes. Yes. Cool. Good questions. Yeah, because like I was saying, you guys are. I knew you would figure out even this past week how to kind of get some of that stuff done. So I hope that means that we'll have some really beautiful apps. And I don't mean it doesn't have to be this crazy design. As we saw, some simple stuff goes a long way, but polished to the point that you've really got a complete component. Maybe it's just one of them that you've really managed to pull off really well. So I look forward to that, and let me know if you guys have any questions. And other than that, I don't really have too much. I mean, I know it's a really short session. You guys have worked really hard this month. It's been a tough month for all of you. Not, I don't want to say for me, like it's horrible. I mean, I guess for me it has been tough, but you guys are moving along, so that's awesome. I mean, that I don't know how to explain it, but I guess when you work hard and no one's moving, it's just so much harder. So you guys are progressing, and that makes it so much easier and nicer. So I do appreciate that. Um, and we'll get everything else cleared up tonight and probably tomorrow. I realize even a couple of you, you've sent me emails and things, so I'll work with you on those things. So just bear with me. I'll bear with you. Okay. But otherwise, I guess I'll be talking to you guys soon. And I hope you have a good weekend. Okay. Thanks for hanging. I'll talk to y'all soon. Okay. Bye. See ya. Bye. Thank you.